I arrived at my daughter's wedding wearing the only suit I owned, carrying a gift I'd spent 3 weeks choosing. But when Grace saw me at the entrance of the historic Whitmore estate, her face went pale with horror. "Dad, what are you doing here? You weren't invited. You need to leave. Now." I stood there, frozen, while 200 guests turned to watch my humiliation. Within 3 hours, her perfect wedding would become her worst nightmare. But this wasn't revenge, it was education. Before we continue, please subscribe to the channel and let us know where you're listening in the comments. The crystal wine decanter slipped from the serving table as I stepped back, stunned by Grace's words. It shattered across the marble entryway of the Whitmore estate, deep red wine spreading like blood across white stone. The sound silenced every conversation in the foyer. "Jesus Christ, Dad." Grace's voice carried equal parts embarrassment and fury. "Can you at least be careful? This venue costs a fortune. A fortune I'd paid for, every single dollar of it." I stared at my daughter, 27 years old, wearing an $8,000 Vera Wang dress that I'd written the check for 6 weeks ago. Her hair was styled in elaborate waves that had cost $400 this morning. The diamond earrings catching the chandelier light, graduation gift from me 3 years back, worth $6,000. "Grace, sweetheart, I don't understand." My voice sounded hollow in the grand foyer. "This is your wedding day. I'm your father. I know who you are." She glanced nervously at the guests gathering behind her. Women in designer gowns, men in custom tuxedos, all of them watching our family drama unfold like theater. But Trevor and I discussed this. This event is for a certain caliber of guest, people who understand the social expectations. Trevor Hammond appeared at her shoulder, his 6'2" frame imposing in a Tom Ford tuxedo. His family owned 3 car dealerships across Massachusetts. His smile was practiced, professional, completely devoid of warmth. "Miss Sullivan, I think there's been a miscommunication," he said, his tone suggesting I was simple-minded. "This is an intimate gathering, immediate family only." Immediate family. The words landed like punches. 27 years of midnight fevers and school projects. 27 years of dance recitals, where I sat in the front row, still wearing my work clothes, because I'd come straight from the engineering firm. 27 years of choosing her college fund over my own retirement, her happiness over my comfort. And now I wasn't immediate family. "I paid for this wedding, Grace." The words came out quiet but firm. "Every flower arrangement, every place setting, the venue rental, your dress, everything." A woman near the entrance gasped softly. Conversation stopped entirely now. Trevor's jaw tightened, a muscle jumping near his ear. "That's really inappropriate, Dad." Grace's face flushed red. "Bringing up money at my wedding? That's so crude." "Yeah, seriously." Trevor stepped forward slightly, using his height advantage. "Whatever arrangement you made with Grace was between you two. But this event has a certain tone we're trying to maintain. Working-class attitudes don't really fit the aesthetic we've created." Working-class attitudes. I'd been a senior civil engineer for 32 years. I'd designed bridges that half of Boston drove across daily. I'd taught at MIT as an adjunct professor for a decade. I'd published papers in international engineering journals, but I'd grown up in Southie. I still had the accent sometimes, and apparently that made me unsuitable for my own daughter's wedding. "Grace, please." I tried one more time, searching her face for any trace of the little girl who used to climb onto my lap with storybooks. "It's your wedding day. I just want to see you happy. Then leave." Her voice cracked slightly, but her resolve held. "Please, Dad, you're making this harder than it needs to be." Trevor's parents are here, his business partners, people who could really help our future. I can't have you embarrassing me in front of them. Behind Grace, I could see the reception hall through open French doors, white roses and peonies everywhere, my mother Mary's favorite flowers, though Grace had probably forgotten that detail. String quartet playing Mozart in the corner, champagne towers sparkling under crystal chandeliers. I'd spent $147,000 on this wedding, every detail chosen by Grace, every expense approved without question, because I loved my daughter and wanted her day to be perfect. She was right about one thing. I was making this harder than it needed to be. I understand, I said quietly, setting the wrapped gift box on a side table. I wouldn't want to embarrass you. Grace's expression flickered. Was that relief? Guilt? I couldn't tell anymore. The woman standing before me in $8,000 of white silk was a stranger wearing my daughter's face. Thank you for understanding. Trevor's hand settled possessively on Grace's shoulder. This is really for the best. Sometimes people need to accept their place in the social hierarchy. I looked at him, this 29-year-old who'd never worked a day in his life, who lived off his family's car dealership money, who Grace had met at some charity gala she'd only been invited to because of my MIT connections. You're absolutely right, I said. People do need to understand their place. I turned and walked back through the foyer. My footsteps echoed on marble floors that I'd paid to have specially cleaned for today, past the flower arrangements I'd commissioned from Boston's most expensive floors, under the chandelier whose rental had cost $3,000 for the weekend. The oak doors closed behind me with a heavy finality. Outside, April afternoon sunshine felt too bright after the dim elegance of the Whitmore estate. The parking lot stretched before me, filled with luxury vehicles, BMWs, Mercedes, Teslas. My 10-year-old Honda Accord sat in the far corner, exactly where it belonged in their world. I pulled out my phone. My hand was steady. 32 years of engineering work had taught me to stay calm under pressure. 32 years of managing complex projects had taught me systematic problem solving. The screen showed 2:47 p.m. Banks were still open on Saturday afternoon. I scrolled through my contacts until I found what I needed. Eastern Financial Services, business accounts. Inside that estate, my daughter was celebrating her new life without me. The life I'd funded complete. The education, the lifestyle, the connections, the wedding, all of it built on my sacrifices. Outside, I was about to teach her the true cost of dismissing the man who'd given her everything. My thumb hovered over the call button for exactly 5 seconds. Then I pressed. Eastern Financial, this is Robert Chen speaking. How may I assist you? Robert, this is Patrick Sullivan, account number 47298834. I need to execute immediate stop payments on multiple authorized transactions. Papers rustled on the other end. Mr. Sullivan, yes, I have your account here. Can you verify your social security number and the security phrase you established? I provided the information while watching a white catering van pull up to the estate's service entrance. They were probably preparing the appetizer service right now. Scallops wrapped in prosciutto, maybe, or those little tartlets Grace had insisted on because Trevor's mother liked them. Thank you, verification complete. I'm showing several large pending transactions from today. Which ones do you need stopped? All wedding-related expense, venue rental, catering services, floral arrangements, photography package, musical entertainment, dress boutique final payment. A pause. Sir, these are substantial amounts. The total exceeds $140,000. Are you certain you want to stop all of these payments? Completely certain. There's been a significant change in circumstances. The transactions need to be reversed immediately. More typing. I'll need secondary authorization codes for transactions over $50,000. Do you have those available? I recited the codes from memory. 32 years of managing engineering project budgets meant I never forgot important numbers. Stop payments are now in effect. The authorizations have been revoked, and the merchants will be notified. Confirmation numbers are being generated for your record. Is there anything else I can assist you with? That covers it. Thank you, Robert. I ended the call and sat for a moment, engine off, watching the estate through my windshield. Grace's wedding was happening in there right now. Guests mingling, champagne flowing, string quartet playing. None of them knew what was about to unfold. My next call went to Whitmore Estate Management. The woman who answered had that practiced hospitality voice, warm but professional. Whitmore Estate, this is Jennifer speaking. How may I help you? Jennifer, this is Patrick Sullivan. I'm calling about the Sullivan-Hammond wedding currently in progress. Oh, Mr. Sullivan! Her voice brightened. Everything is going beautifully. The ceremony was absolutely stunning. We're just about to begin cocktail hour. I'm afraid there's been a financial complication. Payment authorization for the venue has been revoked by my bank. You'll want to check with your accounting department immediately. Silence. Then carefully, I'm sorry. Could you repeat that? The bank has stopped payment on the venue rental, effective immediately. I suggest you contact your financial office before proceeding with any additional services. But Mr. Sullivan, we have a contract. The wedding is happening right now. We can't just check with your bank, Jennifer. You'll find the authorization has been withdrawn. What you do with that information is your decision, but I wanted to give you professional courtesy notice. I disconnected before she could respond. Third call, Bella Rosa Catering, the company Grace had insisted on despite their astronomical prices. A man answered on the first ring. Bella Rosa, this is Marco. How can I help you? Marco, this is Patrick Sullivan regarding the Sullivan-Hammond wedding reception. Mr. Sullivan, we're just setting up the appetizer stations now. The presentation looks magnificent. I need to inform you that payment authorization has been canceled by my bank. You may want to protect your equipment and secure your food inventory. A beat of stunned silence. I'm sorry. What did you say? The bank has stopped payment on your catering contract. Effective immediate. I'm calling as a courtesy so you can take appropriate action to protect your business assets. We're in the middle of service. The cocktail hour is starting in 15 minutes. That's unfortunate timing. You should probably speak with the wedding party about alternative payment arrangements. Marco started to say something else, but I'd already ended the call. If this story reminded you of the injustices you've seen, follow the channel and turn on notifications, because wherever justice is delayed, a new revenge story begins. The next 45 minutes consisted of systematic, methodical calls. Boston Bloom Florists, Symphony Strings Quartet, capture perfect wedding photography, elite transportation for the vintage Rolls-Royce Grace had insisted on, even the dress boutique where she'd purchased her Vera Wang gown with my credit card 6 weeks ago. Each conversation followed the same pattern. Professional courtesy notification, growing alarm on the other end, quick disconnections as businesses scrambled to protect themselves. By 3:45 p.m., every vendor associated with Grace's wedding had been notified that payment authorization had been revoked. My phone showed a missed call from Grace's number, then another, then 3 more in rapid succession. I let them all go to voicemail. Through the estate's tall windows, I could see the beginning of chaos. The catering manager, Marco, probably was having an animated conversation with someone in a tuxedo. Must be Trevor or his father. A woman in a black event coordinator outfit was rushing across the lawn toward the main building, phone pressed to her ear. The flower arrangements were still visible through the windows, but I could see 2 people in Bella Rosa polo shirts starting to cover the appetizer stations with white cloths. My phone rang again. Grace's number. I answered this time. Put it on speaker. Dad, what have you done? Her voice was pure panic. The cultivated social grace completely gone. The vendors are saying there's a problem with payments. The caterers are talking about stopping service. This is my wedding day. Yes, it is. Your wedding day. The one you made very clear I wasn't welcome at. That's not. I didn't mean, Dad, you can't do this. Actually, Grace, I can. The money funding your perfect wedding was mine. When you uninvited the person providing that funding, you made a choice about its availability. But there are 200 people here. Trevor's parents, his business partners, everyone important to our future. Everyone important, I repeated softly. Everyone except your father. Silence on the line. In the background I could hear raised voices, the sound of Trevor shouting at someone. Dad, please. We can talk about this later. But right now, I need you to call these vendors and fix this. Tell them it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a mistake, Grace. It was a decision, just like your decision to exclude me from the most important day of your life. I'll apologize. Is that what you want? I'm sorry. Okay? I was wrong. Now please, fix this before everyone sees what? The consequences of your choices? Dad, please! Her voice cracked completely. You're destroying my wedding. No, sweetheart, I'm just withdrawing my financial support, the same support you took for granted for 27 years, the same support you dismissed as crude to mention in front of your new family. Trevor's voice came through in the background, sharp and angry. Give me the phone. Let me talk to him. Trevor, no. Sound of the phone being grabbed. Then Trevor's voice, the tempting authority. Mr. Sullivan, this is completely unacceptable. You made financial commitments to this event. You can't just... Actually, Mr. Hammond, I can. Every transaction was authorized by me personally. I've withdrawn that authorization. If you'd like to maintain the services, you're welcome to provide alternative payment. This is extortion. No, this is consequences. There's a difference. I ended the call and blocked both numbers. Through the windshield, I watched the chaos intensify, more vendors arriving to collect their property, guests clustering near the windows, clearly aware something was wrong, a Bella Rosa van backing up to the service entrance, staff loading equipment with efficient haste. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number, probably Trevor using someone else's phone. You'll regret this. My family has connections. We'll destroy you. I deleted it without responding. The spring afternoon had grown overcast, clouds gathering above the Whitmore estate's Gothic architecture, appropriate weather for a wedding that was rapidly falling apart. I started the engine and put the car in reverse. Grace's perfect day was becoming something very different, but education rarely felt comfortable in the moment. Sometimes the most loving thing a parent can do is let their child face the reality they've created. I drove away slowly, watching the estate shrink in my rearview mirror. The building looked smaller from a distance, less impressive, almost ordinary. Just like everything else Grace thought made her superior to the man who'd sacrificed everything to give it to her. The drive home took 40 minutes through Boston's Saturday afternoon traffic. 40 minutes of listening to my phone buzz with increasingly frantic calls from numbers I didn't recognize. Grace must have been borrowing phones from everyone at the wedding, trying desperately to reach me. I let every call go to voicemail. My townhouse in Cambridge felt quiet after the chaos. 32 years of careful saving had bought me this modest 3-bedroom in a decent neighborhood. Nothing fancy compared to Trevor's family estate in Brookline, nothing impressive to Grace's new social circle, but it was paid off, mortgage-free. Unlike Grace's lifestyle, which had always depended entirely on my income, I made coffee and opened my laptop. Time for phase 2. The filing cabinet in my home office held 32 years of documentation, every school tuition payment for Grace, every car purchase, every credit card bill I'd covered when her spending exceeded her allowance, every apartment rent check during and after college. I'd kept meticulous records, force of habit from decades in engineering, where documentation meant everything. Tonight those records would serve a different purpose. I created a new folder on my desktop, Grace Sullivan, Complete Financial History. Then I began scanning documents. Boston College tuition $58,000 per year for 4 years. Total $32,000. Room and board $118,000 annually. Total study abroad program in Florence $15,000 for 1 semester. First car at 16, used Honda Civic at $12,000. Second car at 21, new Mercedes C-Class because everyone at BC drives nice cars. Apartment rent post-graduation while she figured out her career, $2,400 monthly for 3 years. Total $86,400 monthly allowance since college graduation, $3,000 per month for 5 years. Total $180,000. The numbers climbed steadily as I worked through folder after folder. Credit card payments, insurance premiums, the European vacation with friends, the winter ski trips to Vermont, the designer wardrobe for her nonprofit fundraising job that paid $35,000 annually, barely enough to cover her shopping habit. By 11:00 p.m. I had everything scanned, categorized, and compiled into a comprehensive PDF. Total amount spent on Grace over 27 years, $1,127,000. Over $1 million. More than $1 million given freely, lovingly, without question or expectation of repayment. And today she'd told me I wasn't good enough to attend her wedding. My phone showed 47 missed calls, 17 voicemails, 23 text messages from numbers I didn't recognize, all probably Grace trying to reach me through wedding guests' phones. I opened one voicemail at random. "Dad, please, this is a nightmare. The caterers took all the food. The florists are dismantling the centerpieces. Trevor's parents are furious. Everyone is staring at us. Please call me back. Please fix this." I deleted it and opened another. "You can't do this to me. This is the most important day of my life, and you're destroying it out of spite. How can you be so cruel?" The word cruel echoed in my mind. I'd spent 27 years putting Grace's needs before my own. I'd delayed my retirement to fund her lifestyle. I'd lived modestly so she could live extravagantly. I'd sacrificed my own comfort for her happiness, and she thought I was being cruel. I opened a new email and attached the comprehensive financial documentation. The recipient line remained empty for now. Tomorrow, I would decide who needed to see exactly how Grace's princess lifestyle had been funded. But tonight, I just needed to sleep. Upstairs in my bedroom, I looked at the photo on my nightstand. Mary, my wife, Grace's mother, dead from a heart attack when Grace was 3 years old. "I tried to give her everything you couldn't," I whispered to the photo. Maybe that was the problem. Mary would have known what to do. She'd always had better instincts about parenting than I did. She would have taught Grace gratitude, humility, the value of money earned rather than expect. What would you do at this point? Write it in the comments. Your thoughts are as important as the story itself. But Mary was gone, and I'd tried to be both parents. Tried to fill the void her death had created with material comfort and financial security. I'd succeeded in creating a comfortable life for Grace. I'd failed in creating a grateful daughter. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Grace would escalate. Trevor's family would likely get involved. There might be legal threats, social media campaigns, attempts to damage my reputation. But tonight, I slept better than I had in months. For the first time in 27 years, I'd set a boundary, and Grace was finally learning that every boundary has consequences for everyone involved. Sunday morning arrived with the kind of silence that follows catastrophe. My phone sat on the kitchen counter, powered off since midnight. I'd learned long ago that engineering problems required systematic approaches, and Grace's situation was at its core an engineering problem. She'd built her entire life on a foundation she'd never examined. Now that foundation had been removed, and the structure was collapsing. The question was whether she'd learn to build something sustainable on her own, or whether she'd simply search for another foundation to depend on. I made coffee and opened my laptop. The comprehensive financial documentation sat ready in a PDF, $1,127,000 of proof that Grace's comfortable life had never been her own achievement. My email drafts folder held a message I'd been composing since 3 a.m. To whom it may concern, this document provides complete financial records for Grace Elizabeth Sullivan, covering the period from her birth through her wedding day, April 15th. Total financial support provided on. Enclosed you will find itemized documentation for educational expenses, $325,000, housing and living expenses, $268,400, transportation, $54,000, personal allowance and credit support, $332,000, $600. Make of it what you will. Patrick Sullivan. P. The recipient line remained blank. I hadn't decided yet who needed to see this. Trevor's family? Grace's employer at the non-profit? The social circle that had found me unsuitable for their company? Or maybe no one. Maybe the education would happen privately without public humiliation. My phone powered on with a cascade of notifications. 63 missed calls overnight. 32 text messages. 14 voicemails. I listened to the first voicemail, time-stamped 11:47 p.m. Saturday night. Dad, it's me. Grace's voice was hoarse, destroyed from crying. The wedding is over. Everyone left. Trevor's parents are barely speaking to us. The hotel where we were supposed to spend our wedding night said there's a problem with the reservation payment. We're at Trevor's apartment now. Please, Dad, please call me back. I need to understand what's happening. The second voicemail came from a number I didn't recognize. Mr. Sullivan, this is Richard Hammond, Trevor's father. I think we need to have a conversation about what happened yesterday. Whatever issues you have with your daughter, the way you handled them was completely inappropriate. Call me at this number. The third was Trevor himself, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. You humiliated my family. You humiliated Grace. My mother cried last night. Do you understand that? You made my mother cry at my wedding. There will be consequences for this. My family doesn't forget disrespect. I deleted all three and opened the text messages. Grace, 11:52 p.m. Dad, please answer. I'm sorry about what I said. I didn't mean it. Please call me. Grace, 12:34 a.m. The Hammonds are blaming me for the disaster. They're saying I hid financial problems from them. I don't know what to tell them. Grace, 1:15 a.m. Trevor is asking questions about money I can't answer. Please help me. I'm begging you. Unknown number, 2:08 a.m. This is Trevor. Whatever game you're playing, it ends now. Grace is my wife, my responsibility. Stop trying to control her through money. I set the phone down and poured another cup of coffee. Through my kitchen window, Cambridge looked peaceful. Sunday morning quiet, people sleeping in, recovering from their weekends. Grace was discovering that money wasn't control. It was consequence. I'd never used financial support to manipulate her. I'd simply provided it unconditionally for 27 years. The manipulation had been hers, taking everything without gratitude, building a life on my sacrifice, then dismissing me when I no longer fit her social aspirations. My phone rang. Grace's number. I answered this time. Hello, Grace. Dad, thank God. Her voice broke immediately. I've been calling all night. Why didn't you answer? I was sleeping. Is there an emergency? Is there an Dad, my entire wedding was destroyed yesterday. The Hammonds think I'm some kind of con artist who hid financial problems. Trevor barely slept. His mother won't stop crying. And everyone who attended is talking about what happened. This is an emergency. Grace, let me ask you something. Do you understand what happened yesterday? Silence. Then carefully, you canceled the wedding payments. Yeah. Do you understand why? Because I told you to leave. Because I said you weren't invited. Her voice carried the tentative quality of someone who'd rehearsed this admission. I hurt your feelings, and you wanted revenge? No. What do you mean? Dad, you destroyed my wedding because, Grace, I withdrew financial support that you'd made clear was your only value to you. You didn't want your father at your wedding. You wanted my money. When you dismissed one, you lost access to both. That's not fair. I never said anything about money. You didn't have to. When was the last time you called me just to talk? When was the last time you visited without needing something? When was the last time you asked about my life, my work, my feelings? The silence stretched long enough that I checked to see if the call had dropped. I don't remember, she finally whispered. I know you don't. That's exactly the problem. Dad, please. I understand now. I was terrible yesterday. I was so worried about impressing Trevor's family that I forgot what really matters. But please, you have to help me fix this. The Hammonds are talking about annulment. Trevor's father wants a full financial disclosure of my background. I don't know what to tell them. Tell them the truth. What truth? that you've never supported yourself financially, that every comfort you've enjoyed has been funded by your father, that the sophisticated lifestyle Trevor married into was never yours. It was borrowed. I can't tell them that. They'll think I'm a fraud. Grace, you are a fraud. The words came out gentle but firm. You've been pretending to be financially independent while living entirely on my support. Trevor married a lie. She was crying now. So what am I supposed to do? Just let my marriage fall apart? Let everyone think I'm worthless? I want you to learn to be worth something on your own, through your own efforts. How? I don't have money for anything. My credit cards are maxed. My bank account has $200. I can't even afford next month's car payment on the Mercedes. Maybe you need a different car, something you can actually afford on your nonprofit salary. Dad, please, I need help, real help, not lectures about independence. I walked to my home office and pulled out the folder I'd prepared overnight. Inside was a printed copy of her complete financial history and a second document I'd drafted this morning. Grace, I'm going to email you something. Check your phone. I attached 2 PDFs to a new email and sent them while she waited on the line. Okay, I'm opening it. What is this? Complete financial history. Dad, why did you make a spreadsheet of everything you've spent on me? Because you've never understood the scope of what you've been given. Look at the total at the bottom. Silence, then a sharp intake of breath. 1 million. This can't be right. $1 million? $1,127,000, to be exact. Over 27 years. That's what it cost to create the lifestyle you've taken for granted. But I didn't ask for all of this. No, you just accepted it without question or gratitude. Open the second document. More silence as she read. I could hear her breathing becoming faster, more panicked. This is a loan agreement. You're saying all that money was a loan, that I have to pay it back? No, I'm saying it could be characterized as a loan if necessary. The document simply formalizes what was previously an informal arrangement. It has legal standing if I choose to pursue it. Dad, you can't sue your own daughter for... I can do whatever I need to do to ensure you understand the value of what you dismissed yesterday. That document is insurance, Grace. Insurance that you'll never again take for granted the people who love you. So what do you want from me? Her voice had gone hollow. What do I have to do to make this stop? I want you to grow up. Get a job that actually pays your bills. Live within your means. Stop expecting other people to fund your lifestyle. I have a job. You have a $35,000 nonprofit position that you treat as volunteer work because you've never needed the money. When was the last time your salary covered your actual expenses? No answer. Exactly. Grace, I'm not trying to destroy you. I'm trying to save you from the life you've been living, a life of complete dependence disguised as independence. But what about Trevor? What about the Hammonds? They're going to find out everything now. They're going to know I've been living on your money. Then you'll have to deal with the consequences of that revelation. That's called being an adult. I hate you. The words came out childish, petulant. I hate you for doing this to me. I know, right now, you hate me because I'm forcing you to face reality. Maybe someday you'll thank me. I ended the call and powered off the phone again. The coffee had gone cold, but I drank it anyway, staring out at Cambridge's morning sunshine. Somewhere in the city, Grace was falling apart, her perfect life unraveling as the truth emerged. It would get worse before it got better, but maybe she'd finally learn what it meant to build something of her own. Monday morning brought a different kind of chaos. I was at my desk at Morrison Engineering by 8 a.m., reviewing structural calculations for a new bridge project in Worcester. 32 years at the same firm meant I had the seniority to work on the projects I found interesting rather than profitable. My office phone rang at 9:23 a.m. Susan from reception, her voice carrying unusual tension. "Patrick, there's a Richard Hammond here to see you. He doesn't have an appointment, but he's quite insistent. Trevor's father." "Interesting. Send him up." Richard Hammond arrived wearing a suit that cost more than some people's monthly rent. Early 60s, silver hair, the kind of confidence that came from inherited wealth. His handshake was firm, his smile was cold. "Mr. Sullivan, thank you for seeing me without notice." "Mr. Hammond, please, sit." I gestured to the chair across from my desk. "Though I'm curious what brings you to my office." He settled into the chair, his posture radiating controlled anger. "Let's not play games. You know exactly why I'm here. What you did to my son's wedding was unconscionable. What I did was withdraw financial support from someone who'd made clear my presence wasn't welcome. You humiliated him. You humiliated my entire family in front of 200 guests. Do you have any idea what the social repercussions have been? I imagine they're significant, though I'd argue the humiliation was self-inflicted." Richard's jaw tightened. "My son married your daughter in good faith. He believed he was marrying into a respectable family with appropriate means. What he actually got was a woman whose entire lifestyle has been fraudulently funded by her father." "There was no fraud, Mr. Hammond. Grace's lifestyle was genuinely funded by me. The only deception was her pretending it was her own achievement." "Semantics." He waved a dismissive hand. "The fact remains that Trevor entered this marriage under false pretenses. Your daughter represented herself as financially independent. Did she, or did Trevor simply assume that anyone in her social circle must have personal wealth?" Richard's expression darkened. "I've spent 30 years building my business and my family's reputation. I won't have it damaged by your daughter's deception or your vindictive behavior. So what do you want from me, Mr. Hammond?" "I want you to make this right. Restore the wedding payment, publicly apologize for the disruption, and provide a formal statement that Grace was acting without your knowledge or consent." I almost laughed. "You want me to lie to protect your family's reputation? I want you to do what's necessary to undo the damage you've caused." Subscribe and stay tuned so you don't miss any true revenge stories. Sometimes, even silence is the strongest form of revenge. "No," the word hung in the air between us. "No? No. Grace is 27 years old. She made choices yesterday. Those choices have consequences. I'm not rescuing her from them." Richard stood, his face flushed. "You're making a serious mistake." "My family has significant influence in Boston. We have connections to the city council, the state legislature, major construction firms. You're a civil engineer, Mr. Sullivan. How many of your bridge projects depend on government contracts?" The threat was clear. Professional retaliation. "Mr. Hammond, I've been in this industry for 32 years. I have a reputation built on actual work, not inherited connections. If you want to try to damage that, you're welcome to try. This isn't over." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Trevor is considering an annulment. When that happens, your daughter will be publicly humiliated as a fraud and a liar. Is that really what you want?" "What I want is for Grace to face reality. If that includes the end of her marriage, then perhaps she married for the wrong reasons." After he left, I sat in my office for a long moment, considering the conversation. The Hammonds were powerful in certain circles. They could potentially make professional life difficult. But they couldn't take away 32 years of actual achievement. They couldn't erase the bridges I'd designed or the papers I'd published. And they certainly couldn't make me regret teaching my daughter accountability. My personal cell phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "This is Trevor. We need to talk. Meet me at Commonwealth Coffee at 2 p.m. Come alone." I responded, "I'll be there." Commonwealth Coffee occupied a corner space in Back Bay, the kind of upscale cafe where a simple coffee cost $7. I arrived at 1:55 p.m. and found Trevor already there, sitting at a corner table, his expression grim. He'd aged in the 3 days since the wedding. Dark circles under his eyes, hair less perfectly styled. The confident swagger had been replaced by something more uncertain. "Thanks for coming." He didn't stand or offer to shake hands. I sat across from him, ordered a black coffee from the hovering server. "Your father visited my office this morning." "I know. I didn't ask him to do that. But you didn't stop him either." Trevor's jaw worked. "My family is furious. My mother hasn't stopped crying since Saturday. My father's business partners are asking questions. Do you have any idea what it's like to have your wedding turn into a public disaster? Do you have any idea what it's like to be told you're not good enough to attend your own daughter's wedding?" He had the grace to look away. "Grace shouldn't have said that. I told her it was wrong." "But you agreed with her." He stopped, reconsidered. "I thought the event would be more elegant without certain complications. Without working-class complications. Without people who don't understand the social hierarchy." "That's not what I meant." "It's exactly what you meant, Trevor. Be honest at least." He met my eyes finally. "Fine, yes. I thought your presence would be awkward. Grace's lifestyle, her education, her social circle, none of it matches your background. I thought it would be easier for everyone if you weren't there. And now I'm discovering that Grace's lifestyle was entirely funded by you, that the sophisticated woman I married has never paid for anything herself, that I married a 27-year-old child. You married the woman I created by never teaching her the value of independence." Trevor pulled out his phone and opened a document. "I hired a forensic accountant, had him review Grace's finances over the weekend. Do you know what he found? I can guess. Grace has never had a positive net worth in her adult life. Her checking account is perpetually overdrawn. She has $42,000 in credit card debt. Her car is financed at a $600 monthly payment she's never made herself." He looked up. "She's been living entirely on your support for 9 years, since college graduation." "Yes. Did you know about the credit card debt? I've been paying the minimum payments for the last 3 years. Trevor's expression shifted to something like disgust. "Why? Why would you enable this level of dependence?" "Because I loved her. Because I wanted to protect her. Because after her mother died, I tried to be everything she needed." I paused. "But love without accountability isn't love. It's enabling. So what happens now?" "You've cut her off completely. She can't maintain any part of her current lifestyle. The Mercedes gets repossessed in 2 weeks. The credit cards are all at their limits. She's functionally bankrupt. Then she'll need to make changes." "What changes?" "She makes $35,000 a year at a nonprofit job. That doesn't cover basic living expenses in Boston. Then she'll need to find different work, move to a cheaper apartment, learn to live within her means." Trevor shook his head slowly. "You've destroyed her life." "No. I've stopped protecting her from the life she created. There's a difference. My family wants me to file for annulment. They're saying the marriage was based on fraud, that Grace misrepresented her financial status." "Did she?" "She let me believe she was financially stable, that her lifestyle was sustainable, that I was marrying an equal partner." "So what are you going to do?" Trevor stared into his coffee for a long moment. "I don't know. I love her, or I thought I did. But I'm discovering I don't actually know who she is. The woman I married was a fiction you created and funded. Then maybe you need to meet the real Grace, the one who exists without my financial support. What if there is no real Grace? What if she's just a spoiled child who never learned to function as an adult? Then you'll have your answer about whether the marriage is worth saving." He stood, pulling on his jacket. "My father wants to destroy your career. Just so you know, he's already making calls to people in the construction industry. I appreciate the warning. I'm not warning you out of kindness. I just want you to know that this isn't over. What you did at the wedding hurt a lot of people. What I did was set a boundary. If your family can't handle that, It says more about them than it does about me. After Trevor left, I sat alone in the expensive cafe, finishing my $7 coffee. Through the window, Boston's afternoon traffic moved in familiar pattern. People going about their lives, unaware of the small dramas playing out around them. Grace's marriage was probably over. Her social standing was destroyed. Her comfortable life was collapsing. And I felt nothing but a strange sense of peace. Sometimes the most loving thing a father can do is stop protecting his child from reality. Even when reality is brutal. Someone had posted a detailed account of Grace's wedding disaster under the title entitled "Bride Gets Instant Karma When Rich Dad Cancels Wedding Mid-Ceremony." The post had 800 comments, most of them supporting my action, but it had also included enough identifying details that people were connecting me to Morrison Engineering. My work email inbox held 3 messages from company HR about social media situation requiring discussion. Great. The meeting happened at 10 a.m. in HR Director Sharon Martinez's office. She was a woman I'd worked with for 15 years, professional and fair. "Patrick, I'm going to be direct. We've received several calls this week about your personal situation, specifically about your daughter's wedding." "I see. And some of those calls have come from Hammond family dealerships. They're suggesting that your recent behavior indicates instability that might affect your professional judgment. The Hammonds are retaliating because I refused to continue funding their daughter-in-law's lifestyle." Sharon nodded slowly. "I've read the Reddit post. I've also done some checking into the Hammond family's connections. They're influential. Are you asking me to apologize to them?" "I'm asking you to understand that this firm has relationships with various city and state agencies, relationships that could be affected if the Hammond family decides to make this a larger issue. Sharon, I've worked here for 32 years. I've designed 11 major bridges, published 24 peer-reviewed papers, and mentored countless younger engineers. My professional reputation is built on actual work. I know that, but reputation isn't just about past achievements. It's also about current perception. So what are you telling me?" She looked uncomfortable. "I'm telling you that senior leadership is concerned. They're asking if perhaps you'd consider a temporary leave of absence. Let things cool down. Return when the social media attention has passed." "You're suspending me?" "Not suspending. Suggesting a voluntary temporary leave with full pay." I sat back in my chair, processed. The Hammonds were moving faster than I'd expected, using their connections to pressure my employer. And if I refuse, then leadership will need to consider whether this situation is creating a hostile work environment for other employees who might be affected by the Hammond family's influence. The threat was polite but clear. "Take the leave voluntarily or face potential forced suspension. I'll think about it. Patrick, I'm sorry. I know this isn't fair. But sometimes we have to consider practical realities over principles." Back at my desk, I stared at my bridge calculation. 32 years of work. 32 years of building things that would outlast me. All of it potentially at risk, because I'd finally set boundaries with my daughter. My phone buzzed. Email from Grace. "Dad, I heard what the Hammonds are doing to your job. This is all my fault. Please, let me try to fix this. I'll talk to Trevor's family. I'll do whatever they want." I typed back, "No, this isn't yours to fix. Focus on your own situation." Her response came immediately. "What situation? I don't have a car anymore. The Mercedes was repossessed this morning. I can't pay rent on my apartment. Trevor won't talk to me. His family has cut me off completely. I have nothing. Then you have an opportunity to build something of your own. Something real. How? I don't even know where to start." I thought for a long moment before responding. "Start by getting a job that actually pays enough to live on. Move to an apartment you can afford. Learn to budget. Live like the rest of us who don't have trust funds or family money. I'm scared. Good. Fear is honest. Use it to motivate change. I closed the email and pulled out my phone. Made 2 calls. First to Margaret Torres, my lawyer. Margaret, I need advice on employment law and dealing with retaliation. Second to David Chen, my oldest friend in the industry. David, I need to know if the Hammond family is really as influential as they think they are. By the end of the day, I had answers. Yes, the Hammonds had connections, but their influence was primarily social, not professional. They could make noise, but they couldn't actually destroy a career built on 3 decades of solid work. And yes, Morrison Engineering was overreacting out of fear rather than necessity. Sharon's suggestion of leave was political cowardice, not legitimate concern. Thursday morning, I went back to Sharon's office. I'm not taking a leave of absence. Patrick, I strongly advise, I'm not taking leave because I haven't done anything wrong. If Morrison Engineering wants to suspend me for setting boundaries in my personal life, they can do so, but it will be their decision, not mine. Sharon looked pained. The Hammonds have significant influence. No, they have significant money. There's a difference. Money without character is just noise. This could affect your position here. Then I'll deal with those consequences when they come. But I won't be bullied into apologizing for teaching my daughter accountability. Friday afternoon brought an unexpected visitor to my townhouse. Grace stood on my doorstep, looking nothing like the sophisticated bride from a week ago. No makeup, hair in a simple ponytail, jeans and a plain sweater. She looked younger somehow, more vulnerable. Hi, Dad. Grace, come in. She followed me inside, looking around the townhouse she'd barely visited in the past 5 years. I forgot how small this place is. It's adequate for 1 person. But you could afford bigger. You always could have. Why didn't you buy something nicer? Because I was saving money to support you. She flinched at that. Can we talk? We sat in my living room, the modest furniture, the simple decor. Nothing impressive by Trevor's standards, but it was paid for, maintained, mine. Trevor filed for annulment this morning, Grace said quietly. His lawyer cited fraud, said I misrepresented my financial status. I'm sorry. Are you? This is what you wanted, isn't it? For everything to fall apart so I'd learned some kind of lesson. What I wanted was for you to understand the value of what you'd been given. The annulment is Trevor's choice, not mine. His family hates me. They're telling everyone I'm a con artist, that I trapped their son into marriage. Her voice broke. Last week I was planning my honeymoon. Now I'm essentially homeless and divorced. What about your apartment? I can't afford it. Rent is $2,800 a month. My salary is $35,000 a year. The math doesn't work without your support. So what's your plan? I was hoping maybe I could stay here, just temporarily, until I figure things out. I looked at my daughter, 27 years old, finally asking for help instead of demanding it, finally admitting she couldn't maintain the lifestyle she'd built on my money. On 3 conditions. Anything. First, you get a full-time job that actually pays enough to support yourself. I don't care if it's not prestigious. I don't care if it's not what you imagine, but it has to pay real money. She nodded slowly. Okay. Second, you pay rent. Not much, $500 a month, but you contribute. I can do that. Third, we talk, really talk, not just when you need something. Every day, we have dinner together and actually communicate like family. Grace's eyes filled with tears. You still want to be my family? After everything I said, after how I treated you? Grace, I never stopped wanting to be your family. I just stopped enabling the version of you that treated me like an ATM machine. She crossed the room and hugged me, the first genuine embrace in years, not the quick social hug before asking for money. A real hug, desperate and grateful and sad all at once. I'm so sorry, Dad, for everything, for the wedding, for taking you for granted, for becoming someone I don't even recognize. I know, and I forgive you. But Grace, Forgiveness doesn't mean returning to how things were. It means building something new and healthier. I don't know how to do that, and you'll learn. We both will. She stayed that night in the guest room, the room I'd kept ready for her visits that rarely happened. The next morning, she sat at my kitchen table with coffee and a newspaper circling job listing. Most of these want experience I don't have, she said, frustrated. Then start somewhere that doesn't require experience. Build your resume from the ground up. Like what? Retail? Food service? If that's what's available, yes. There's no shame in honest work, Grace. The shame was in pretending you were above it while living on my money. By the end of the week, she'd landed a position as an administrative assistant at a law firm, $45,000 a year. Not glamorous, but sustainable. I can't believe this is my life now, she said over dinner Friday night. A week ago, I was Mrs. Trevor Hammond. Now I'm an admin assistant living with my father. Is it really so bad? She looked around my modest kitchen. Actually, no. It's simpler, scarier, but more honest. That's growth. Over the following weeks, Grace slowly transformed. She took the bus instead of assuming she'd have a luxury car. She bought clothes from Target instead of Nordstrom. She learned to cook instead of eating out constantly. And slowly, painfully, she learned to be proud of things she'd actually achieved. 2 months after the wedding disaster, Grace came home with her first paycheck. I paid my rent to you, she said, handing me $500 in cash. And I have enough left over for groceries and bus fare. I did it, Dad. I actually survived on money I earned myself. The pride in her voice was worth more than all the money I'd spent on her before. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. I'm proud of me too. For the first time in my life, I think I actually earned that feeling. 6 months later, Grace had her own affordable apartment, a growing emergency fund, and genuine confidence that didn't depend on my bank account. The wedding disaster had been the worst day of her life. It had also been the beginning of her first real achievement, learning to stand on her own and watching her discover that strength was worth every dollar I'd ever spent, every boundary I'd ever set, every difficult lesson she'd finally learned. Sometimes the greatest gift a parent can give is not protection from failure, but the space to fail, learn, and rebuild stronger than before. Thank you for watching. If this story showed you a different face of justice, like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. See you in the next revenge story.